this is the most normal, like the most normal band we've been really since we began. Or when we started, we would make EPs somewhat regularly, and then worked into an LP somewhat regularly, as people would do, and then nothing for a very long time. When we started being a band again, we didn't really have a plan beyond just playing music and seeing what would happen. But then there was a desire
it was almost
to
a
make
year
music.
between not playing the show, but like, let's say we announced our first show in January 2011, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we didn't start talking about new music till a year after that already, but not because it was just because we hadn't really discussed it. There was one moment where we were like, well, we'll make a new record, but it was really casual and it wasn't a plan, it was just kind of a fleeting comment, you know? So there wasn't really, it was very uncertain at that time, whereas now we're just like a band, right? And we've been a band now, again, longer than we were ever, so it's just normal, regular bandness. It feels good, though. It does feel good to know that we're working on something, you know, that is, it's a body of work, you know?
I think that our real fans, like the people that have been around and stick around, it seems like they're more fans of us than they are even of our music.
Yeah, I think the people that were, because fan, it's an abstract for us a little bit because, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to consider, but the people that are, you know, very vocal online or that there's kind of a communication, they seem to just be stoked about just like all the stuff we do. Like they love Mastercraft and they love my solo records and other bands we do work with. So, which is cool. It's cool that people appreciate the sort of the breadth of our work. You know, so it's not just someone who, and also, I mean, it's kind of crummy. You know, like when, you know, Jesse does something in Mastercraft, or I do something with another project and it gets compared to Death from Above. It's like, well, it's not Death from Above, so why compare it to that? And why set yourself up for that disappointment? Because it's, you know, I understand why people compare those things because it's the same dudes, but it's a little lazy, you know. I'm talking about in journalism with all due respect. But people who are fans, I feel like those people, they just take it all sort of as just art, you know.
Yeah, but ultimately, if you're going to be a fan for a long time, you have to actually just be a fan of that artist's creative output. Because the likelihood of them just making the thing that you like in perpetuity is low.
Yeah, I'm a Paul McCartney fan, and I love, you know, most of the things he did, except for Bésame Mucho. That cover is such a cornball cover. Damn. That's an abstract as well, because
Death from Above is just us.
Yeah, that's the
us.
realization that we have now, is that Death from Above is you know, us plus a couple of pieces of gear, you know, essentially. And so whatever we venture to do will be that thing, you know. So it's not this separate third entity, you know, that is mythologized and whatever else. It's just like this.
That's what it was for us 3 years ago, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, because the band, we you know, we didn't even talk to each other for 5 years, and the band continued to exist as another thing. It just kept working for us. We weren't even observing that, you know, that was just kind of happening in the background. And so when we started working on the physical world, we were treating the band like a third thing, you know, that was separate from us, that we had to kind of respect. Whereas now that concept doesn't exist. Yeah.
We don't respect.
There's no respect.
We don't respect it anymore. This record is interesting for me in that.
Me too.
Well, I was just going to say why it was interesting for me. In that we really interrupt each other the most now. I didn't have any preconceived ideas about how the songs would go, what they would be like, what it would feel like at all. And normally, I've always written music sort of working backwards from imagining playing whatever the riff is in front of an audience. And if I can't imagine myself doing it in front of a crowd and being proud of what I was doing, then I would sort of, it wouldn't even get any further than that. And this time, I didn't really have that in my mind so much. Maybe later on as we were finishing things, but I just wanted to write whatever I really enjoyed and what I thought Sebastian would enjoy singing over. One of the things that's always been important to us is trying to avoid repeating ourselves musically, and I realize that's probably to the detriment of our careers, because I'm sure some people would prefer us to just repeat whatever the thing they like is, but for me that would be boring. So now that we've had 2 records of things that are somewhat congruent, it's like, well, can't do that again. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't enjoy it.
I think that there's that when Jesse plays me a demo or something, sometimes there's like an obvious place to go with it. And on this record, I would try to figure out what that was and then not do it. You know, like, what's the obvious thing to do? What's the thing that I would do just like if we were playing in a room? Because we didn't really write in a room together on this record. We did a little bit of that, but mostly because that would have, you know, driven us in one direction, the direction that we've been going down the whole time. So there needs to be some kind of separation and independence in that way. So the most interesting things on this record were the ones that were completely incongruous with things that we'd already done. That's not to say that it doesn't sound like a Death from Above record, or even maybe it just sounds exactly like the last record. I have no concept of that anymore, but it sounds great, and we took chances and made things maybe weirder than they would have been before.
A couple of years ago, we started not using the 1979 on tour posters, and no one noticed. And we kept doing it last year, no one noticed. So then,
the final straw was I was making the art for Freeze Me, and I was trying to figure out what we should do, and I was like, well, I'll do something literal. I'll write Freeze Me out with ice cubes. So I went on Amazon and ordered an ice cube tray, and it came, and it was the alphabet. And I made all the ice, and I was like, oh, there's no numbers. Oh, okay, I guess I'll just...
Guess that's that.
That's it.
No
Death from
numbers.
Above, Freeze Me. And then we just like handed it to the record label, and they went, okay, Death from Above, great.
Yeah, and really technically our record deal, it says the band is Death from Above.
That's true.
So there.